Hi, this is Adam Ballenger, and I have a clip for you. After tons of posts on YouTube and the internet with a big whiteboard and showing you biomechanics and stuff, I'm actually sharing with you a little bit of technique on the yoga mat. One of the things I've been integrating for a good part of the last 5 to 10 years are functional movement aspects. And now that that's really popular out in the fitness industry, it's starting to make even more and more sense. So today isn't about really big bendy poses. What I'm trying to do on the mat is get a couple different body parts to work together a little bit better. If you've seen some of the stuff by Thomas Myers, or maybe some of my trainings and workshops, or maybe even some of the the folks out there teaching movement and yoga asana from a really cool modern perspective, where they're integrating the nervous system, the muscle, the fascia, all these different things in really cool ways. This has a bunch of that. So let me start to talk about it. I'm going to use a roller. I like rollers sometimes if you can get these. It's a great alternative or addition to a yoga block. One of my favorite things these days. So I'm going to use one of these to sit on, and the first part of this movement is I want to get part of my hips to work. Now there's no guarantee that all the students are using their hips really well, but this is a great movement where lots of people do use them. So I'm even going to try to turn them on before I move. So before I press up, this is the press up I'm going to do, I'm going to try to squeeze and release. So I want to get a little bit of awareness in those hips and glutes. For me, a lot of this movement and asana stuff, even if there's a functional component, the really strong undercurrent is the awareness. So this is mindfulness, and this is being with and present in all this stuff. So I want to tone those muscles. You can leave them on or turn them off and then move, but I'm going to come from the hips. I'm going to try to press right up into my pre-camel position. Today I'm not going to go into back bend work. I'm going to work on more of a transition. And you could consider this vinyasa work, but I'm breaking it down so much it's kind of too chunky to call it flowing stuff. All right, so from kneeling, I want to come up, and I want to see if I can do a lot of it in the hips. In a moment, I'm going to integrate some of the leg work in there as well, or some of the transition into a one-sided lunge, one leg forward. And for today, I'm also going to add an arm and a shoulder. In the muscle slings, even some of the motor neural and the Thomas Myers fascial trains, there's a great connection from each appendage to the opposite appendage. And that's really cool stuff. This is great stuff for just quality of living movement. So I'm going to start this one with the hand behind the head. I'm going to push my head back to try to turn on some of the muscles back here that go down the spine. And I can even do a little bit of shoulder work to just get a little squeeze, so there's even a little pull from the arm in towards the spine. So from here, again, press up. If there's a lot of rib flare, and this is either your practice or your teacher, try using a big exhale to tighten this. Now, I don't want to bear down so much I can't breathe or move, but I do want to keep this fairly strong. So can I keep this integrated as I come up? And now here I'm going to throw a bigger challenge into it. As I come up, I'm going to start to use this opposite arm leg. So from here, up, and then step. Yeah, and if you can float that, even better. That's going to show me a lot of the control you have right in the standing hips. So up, and then foot. Whoa, I didn't do that very floaty-like. Okay, but you get the idea. If you see that somebody's having a big problem, like they lean and they fall and they bring that forward, you can prop, so they start to learn the exercise. Now you'd have to put that hand down. So they begin to learn it. They begin to learn how these little rotators and stabilizers in their hips support that movement. If possible though, I want to get that hip and all the stabilizers to have a little bit of a chance to try to be on and do their job while the arm is also active. So I love that part. That was same side, and I'll show you where that goes in a moment. So from here up, perfect stuff. You could go into a baby back bend, you could go into thigh stretch, but I'm going to show you where I like to take this. I'm going to turn a little bit sideways. Okay. Hope you're doing well. Feel free to pause this and try some of it as well. I love this stuff after different segments of core activation. If that doesn't make any sense, don't worry about it. And different exercises on turning on the prana or activating the hips. Okay. So we just did opposite arm and leg, and that would be like me coming from this arm up, and I want to push till the posture's up, and maybe do a little bit of activation and awareness here, and then step up into that lunge. So I love that stuff. Great place to also work on something like a twist. Now I'm going to show you similar, but I'm going to keep it on the same side. So arm and leg moving forward. And in a moment, you're going to see how I change that to opposite arm and leg. So I'm going to go same arm, and as I come up, I'm going to move this leg forward, and then shift it into that front leg right into my lunge. I'm still working on a lot of extension. I think for most folks, they're going to need a lot of that spinal extension in here. They're going to get a little core. But for now, if they have a little bit of the rib out, I would let it go. We can integrate that later. That kidney, or if you get into some of the trainings when we talk about upper and lower cross, occasionally there's a middle cross section, and that's right at that kidney upper core area. Okay, so let me show you my favorite on this. And this is what it looks like if you break it down over weeks or a couple months, and you just teach how to use the body parts. This is the way I like to do it. And then you create a short sequence that you mix into the rest of your class, and give it weeks if you can, before you just pop out a whole new flowy sequence of poses, a whole new vinyasas. So within the vinyasas, the mindful awareness work that a person can do with each body area, integrating or letting the practitioner or the student know that there's a lack of integration. It's not a failure. The awareness is a total success. So you have fun with this, and my preference is to just take time with it. Okay, so I'm going to do the same side this time. So as I come up, I'm going to step and transition into that front leg. And this is where I'm going to head towards third warrior pose. I've got this arm just out of the way, anywhere you want it. And to press, and here I'm going to reach through the elbow and lift through the leg. So you can put that hand anywhere. So now I've got opposite arm and leg coordinating again. Okay. All right. That can just go on and fun and fun and fun. There's so many different poses and sequences, and even just segment work in the body if you're one of those people who likes to build that stuff up. So we're going from kneeling up into like a pre-camel pose, into a one-legged lunge or something like Anjaneyasana, into a standing lunge, into something like third warrior pose. And the whole way up, we're keeping an awareness on the connection between the hips and the shoulders. And we're trying to create extension while we're using the opposite leg and arm shoulder. And we can change that from just a low variation all the way up into something much more complex and dynamic, where we come up into balancing totally on one leg and shift into a whole other plane of movement, a whole other challenge of flow of prana, if you would. All right, this is Adam Ballenger. Have some fun with that. If you get any questions, feel free to send me the question. I don't always get back to the YouTube questions very quickly, and if you feel like you've got a critical remark, send it on in. Sometimes that turns out to be the best discussions. All right, great to see you.